The time is now 6:05, and I don't want us to get started any later. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. The chair is seeking an adoption of the agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I think I heard Mr. Townsend. Ms. Payton, or is it April who's helping us? It's Ms. Payton, I believe.
No, it's Mr. Vitale.
Mr. Vitale. Well, okay. I'll go ahead and I will do roll then, and do just a roll call vote. Vice President Kendrick.
Aye.
Director Townsend.
Aye.
Director Graves. Director McGee. Director Brooks.
Aye.
And Director Carter.
Aye.
President Watry.
Yes, sir.
You're present.
Yeah, chair votes aye. President Watry, chair votes aye. Motion carries 5-0.
And I'm sorry, we have both actually, Ms. Waterman and Ms. Payton on tonight to manage those, to manage the meeting as board secretary. So you can call on either.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Absolutely.
And so with that, can we make sure that the minutes state that Mr. McGee will not be able to attend due to the fact he has a prior speaking engagement?
Meetings are noted.
Thank you.
Mr. Vitale, you can advance now to the next agenda item.
Brings us to 3.0, which is our applause. So we will then have our presentation from Freedom Markley.
Good evening, directors.
Good evening.
Tonight for Applause, we are recognizing one of our scholars whose name is Nicholas. He has been a student at Freedom Markley Early Childhood Center for the past 3 years. During this school year, he has shown up for all of his Zoom sessions. His teacher describes him as thoughtful and respectful to his classmates and teachers. And I can see him on this Zoom, and I'm going to guess that he is always smiling on those Zoom sessions as well. So congratulations, Nicholas, for your Applause Award for the month of January. His principal, Dr. Osborne, is also on the Zoom, and I believe I saw his teacher as well. So Dr. Osborne, if you want to unmute, and then Nicholas, if you could also unmute so we could say hello.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, board members. Thank you for allowing us to come this evening and praise Nicholas. We are so excited. He's been with us and he exemplifies the true spirit of Freedom Markley. I have joining us 3 teachers. Last year's teacher, Amy Peterson, is with us. And this year, the 2 co-teachers is Stephanie Ertl and Emma Turner.
Nicholas, can you say hello?
Hello. Hello.
Nicholas,
Hello, Nicholas.
Do you know why you're receiving this applause award, Nicholas?
Yes.
Are you excited to receive an award, Nicholas?
Yes.
Okay.
Nicholas, are you there with any of your parents or anyone?
My mama.
Mom. Think your mom want to say hello to us? We can congratulate mom on your reception of your award.
Hello.
Yes, her mom is Miss Nikki Nelson. So she has been a member of our Freedom Markley training, and we are glad that she is very supportive. Her and Nicholas Nicholas are awesome people, and soon we'll pass them on to another school. So we're saddened for them to leave. The other schools are going to really enjoy the family.
Good.
Congratulations, Nicholas and mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did a wonderful
Absolutely.
job.
Good
Congratulations.
job, Nicholas.
Uh,
Good job. Papa, good job. Good job.
Yay, good job.
Yay.
Good job, Nicholas.
Nicholas has some cool glasses on too.
What?
Yay.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Nicholas. Thank you, Mom, for making sure he's here too. We're very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
We're all proud of
Thank
you,
you.
Nicholas. Yay.
All right, so
Good job, brother.
all right. Thank you again for Freedom Markley for presenting your applause. We'll be moving now to item 4.0, which is the Above and Beyond Award received by Ruskin High School senior Jalen Dunn.
All right, back to me. Good evening again. We want to say congratulations to Jalen for earning Superintendent Obeng's Above and Beyond Award. Jalen is an academic star as well as a 3-year letterman for the boys basketball team. He is always willing to go the extra mile. Pre-pandemic, he was an enthusiastic participant in Ruskin's Harvesters Food Distribution Program. Jalen's positive attitude has truly been an inspiration throughout these unpredictable times. He recently received high praise from a parent from an opposing team they were playing. She applauded him for his leadership and character in stressful situations. Way to go, Jalen. We are so proud of you. Congratulations. And Jalen is on the Zoom, so if you'll go ahead and unmute and say hello.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good.
Hey,
Good. So,
Jalen, how you doing? Superintendent Obeng here.
Good, how you doing?
Good. You're acting all shy now, right? So congratulations, Jalen. I know is Coach with you right now, or you with your parents?
He next to me.
Yeah, and you know, we did receive that beautiful letter from an opposing team's parent that took time out to send us a communication about your character and leadership, which was amazing because, you know, often, you know, opposing teams are rivals, right? But she saw such a unique ability in you that she pulled her children over to watch your game and to demonstrate not really your athletic ability, but your leadership and your character. So that was truly impressive to do that. I don't know if anybody on the other side of the camera want to say anything. Coach there.
Yeah, you're right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want to tell us about Jalen?
Oh, well, look, Jalen is this is his 4th year, 3rd year playing varsity. Played a little taste his freshman year at the end, but Jalen has matured so wonderfully this year. And with these struggling times, to get a letter like that into something that I had been telling everyone that he had been doing, because he has kind of turned a lot of things around from that standpoint. And his leadership has been a big positive in our season so far. And kind of a rocky start, but his leadership has helped keep the ship afloat, if you will. And we're just honored to have him as a part of our team.
Excellent.
excellent.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Jalen, I hope you got a copy of that letter, that email from that parent. They should keep that as a constant reminder of your perseverance. And I understand that, you know, you had some rocky times during high school, but you were able to kind of stay focused and push yourself in the right direction as you become a senior. So kudos to you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations.
So, and I have one question. So when you read the letter, how did you react?
Actually, when I first got it, so I think I had just woke up, and coach texted me like, he called me and said, what did I do? Like, I thought I was in trouble or something, because he said he got an email from another school, like a teacher. And he just told me that she said I was being a good leader. She asked her son to come over, like, and watch me play. I felt good about it. Like, I actually did something. Like, all the work I put in is paying off. People are actually noticing what I'm doing, and I'm not doing it for no reason. And it just helps me keep going.
Yeah, I mean, being able to somebody be able to see not so much as the athleticism that you have, but also just seeing the leadership skills that you have to be able to lead, and even the comments made by your coach. It sounds like your leadership is like kind of the glue that's holding the team together.
Yeah, I have to step up big time. I have never really been in a position like this, so I have to really step up for my team. If nobody else did, I was gonna have to do it.
Well, on behalf of the district as well as the high school, we thank you for being a leader and showing what leadership is. That's something that we need to see here in our community. We need leaders.
And you
So
need to be proud of that accomplishment. You need to be proud.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jalen. This is Director Townsend.
How you doing?
All right, and Coach will tell you that I am a avid high school basketball fan, because my daughter did play for Ruskin. She was on varsity for 4 years. She was the point guard. So I have a love for high school basketball, and I know the conference that the Eagles play in, and to get a compliment from the other teams is quite an accomplishment. I mean, it's like crazy, stupid, crazy. I mean, especially in our conference. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
A great note to end on. Jalen, I got 2 quick questions for you before you go. One, do you know how diamonds are made, Jalen? No, diamonds are made under extreme pressure. So we always talk about pressure creates diamonds. So obviously you've persevered through a lot of pressure to create the diamond that you are. So congratulations with that. And wish you well. I was going to ask you what you're going to do with all that money, but I won't ask because I know you're going to take me to lunch or something. So we can talk. All right.
Well, thank you, Jalen. And Coach, thank you as well. We really appreciate you being here, and it's a good feel-good story. I think we all kind of needed that. So moving on to agenda item 5.0, which is our audience comments. We've allotted, per our policy, we've allotted 20 minutes for this this agenda item. Now, we did ask that in order to be put on a list to provide public comment, this meaning that anyone who wanted to give public comment, try to email Ms. April before, prior to this meeting's call to order. That being said, I also understand that there might be people who didn't get the opportunity. So what we'll do is we'll take, I'll say 2 minutes. And anyone who would like to, who did not get a chance to send Ms. April a email, simply state your name so that we can make that list and audience comments can be heard. The last thing.
We did receive an email from Evelyn Hildebrand.
Right.
Perfect. Well, that being said, is there anyone else who wishes to make comment? All right. I'll give it. Hi, Nicholas. I'll give it about 20 more seconds here, and then I will hand it back to April to give the list, which I guess is Ms. Hildebrand's. So, all right.
Ms. Hildebrand, you can begin. Unmute the mic.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I'm not seeing a person by that name in here, but
It would be the first name would be Evelyn, and I do believe that she was in on the call here just moments ago.
Ms. Hildebrand is on under iPhone, Evelyn Hildebrand. Ms. Hildebrand, if you would unmute your mic, please.
And would anyone else who is on the call please mute theirs?
Go ahead, Ms. Hildebrand. Ms. Hildebrand, your mic is unmuted. You can begin speaking.
The choice of a lawyer, court decision shouldn't be based solely on advertising. At Edelman and
Johnny, can you mute all other mics and see if we can get Ms. Hildebrand to speak? Because it might be because we might have an issue with other mics not being muted.
everybody but me and you are and Miss Hildebrand are unmuted now.
Okay. Let's see. Ms. Hildebrand, I see you. I just can't hear you. She's trying. She's getting frustrated. She's trying to. So Ms. Hildebrand is speaking right now. I'm sorry. We can't hear a word you're saying. So just a suggestion, you might try to log in and log out because I don't know why it's not letting you talk or why we can't hear you.
You want to call my phone and maybe I can put my phone up to the mic because we can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am. I got that. Okay. No, ma'am. I'm just reading your lips. Ms. Kendra, let me know when she gives you a call. And you're muted. She's still muted.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, here she is. Okay, you can talk, Evelyn.
Hi, Ms. Hildebrand.
Listen, I've been trying to figure this Zoom boom stuff out for what, 6 months? And so I appreciate Vice President Kendricks for doing what she's doing, because when I need to say I can't take it to February, okay? First of all, I would like to thank President Watry and Vice President Kendricks for carrying out the mission of the Hickman Mills District. Even though we are still under the COVID-19 rule, you guys are still at work. Thank you so much. And as a stakeholder, I want to thank the other board members that's giving 110% to the Board of Education in attendance with being there to carry out the mission. Mr. O'Bean, I want to thank you for what you came into our community and started, awarding these kids, which gives them an incentive to say, hey, I'm proud to be an Eagle. With that being said, because I could talk a lot, so let me just calm down a little bit. I got a couple more things here, and Lord. Dr. Skinner, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
I just want to say thank you so much for the things that you did before Mr. O'Bean came into our district, for carrying out the Hickman Mills District as the superintendent and getting him on board. And I do miss working with you on the committee, the educational committee. One more question, y'all, and then I'm going to go. Since I've been trying to get on for 6 months, you should give me my 8 minutes. The HBCU, I don't know, Dr. Skinner, who's still responsible for that. Are you guys still looking at sending kids to HBCUs? Because colleges are not closed. And I just want to know, what are we doing? And as a community person, are we looking at getting with that same person we got with doing virtual tours for our children, not just HBCUs, but all of the other universities in the United States? With that being said, Ms. Hildebrand's done. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Watry. Irene, keep supporting him, and Board of Education, keep supporting your superintendent. Mr. Skinner, can I get an answer before I go though?
Miss Rowe is the one that was the point on that, and I'll get with her after the call to make sure that we're still on that.
All right, I appreciate it because and that's all I gotta say because I could go on and on. I'm just so proud of you guys as to what you're doing, and if there's anything that I can do to assist you in the community, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to assist you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Hildebrand.
Thank you, Ms. Hildebrand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hildebrand.
You're welcome.
All righty. All right, we are now moving on to agenda item 6.0, which is our 6.1 January 2021 board update.
Good evening, board. This is Dan Weekly, and I'm here to introduce Justin Durham with Hollis and Miller. And then with us tonight, we also have Universal Construction with Joel Smith, Marquise Canyon, and Latasha McCall, and they'll be presenting tonight's update. And if you can bring up the update, I'd appreciate it.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is just, oh, there we go. It disappeared. There we go. All right, good evening, everybody. This is Justin Durham with Hollis and Miller, and we have some exciting news for you guys tonight. My part will be brief because it's just a little bit of a recap from last month with a little bit of good news. So as we move down to the agenda tonight for our design and construction update, tonight we'll be going over just rehashing a little bit on the next slide there. We'll be rehashing a little bit of the schedule, our budget, and then Universal, Marquise, Joel, and his team will come on and start to discuss the construction that took place this last few weeks, few months. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So for package 1 and package 2, this is just the budget update. The numbers have not changed since last month when we gave you guys an update. Right now, Universal has our construction documents. That's those final documents that the contractors will take to bid. They are working on our final estimates now. So these are the same numbers that you guys saw last month. So we're still tracking right about where we want to be with our budget. For our schedule update for package 1 and 2 for our elementary schools, we did meet our design schedule, and when working with Marquise the last few weeks, we had to let you know that. So we had around February 10th. The good news is that we believe that we'll be ready to go out to bid to those contractors on February 2nd now. So we have an income schedule, so that's to answer contractor questions that may come up during the bidding process and to pick up any miscellaneous little items that the city may ask us to amend in those documents before we see those final bids. So those are those dates on February 12th and February 25th. And then we are planning our bid opening on March 1st for this first round of projects. So it's exciting. We'll be seeing some of the construction start to happen very soon.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Marquise Canyon. And so for our construction budget, we're right on track. Nothing here has changed from what we showed you last month. Just a little bit more work installed. Next slide, please. Ruskin, we are substantially complete on construction, less 2 punch items that'll have to be done in the spring. And that's just small things, seating and a couple patching. Compass, I went by there today before the meeting, and we are getting the punch item that was missing installed as we speak, which was the final set of gates for Compass. Dobbs, same thing. The punch items that were there were the handrails and the gates. Those are installed there. So we'll just need to walk it, make sure that it's acceptable. Warford on the roof, that's done and it's watertight. So we're good there. That's complete. Welcome Center. Again, we need to do some sodding in the spring. Right now, it's just not the time for that vegetation to grow, but we're substantially complete there as well. And then at Santa Fe, same thing. We went back, we covered a lot of punch items there. We're substantially complete, but we have some asphalt repairs to make in the springtime when the weather's better for us. Next slide, please. And then Smith Hill, we're good there. Again, there's some seeding that needs to go in at Smith Hill, and then that'll happen in the spring as well.
Okay, I want to go over our MBE, WBE participation and outreach. I know the last time that we were on the phone, Vice President Kendrick and Mr. Brooks was asking about our participation, what we were going to do. He wanted to see more MBEs, wanted to see more participation. So we did hear you. We went to the city of Kansas City's website along with other list of MBE firms. And I looked at that. There were 244 certified firms that we got from the city of Kansas City. Out of those, I went through and I identified 105 potential that I thought out of the 244, I eliminated some because they were attorneys, they were child care centers, other people that were certified with the city that didn't have anything to do with construction. So with that 105 potential MBE firms, we went out, I got with my team along with Universal, and we contacted people on the phone. Out of the 105, we got a hold of 79 minority-owned potential bidders that are going to bid on the work that we have coming up this spring. So, so we did identify those. 26 of those potential firms, I just want you to know they were suppliers and vendors, but we're going to include them as well. And on the WBE side, there were 267 certified firms with the city of Kansas City. And right now we hadn't focused so much on the WBE as I did the MBE. So we're planning to figure out on how many potential WBEs that we can qualify to solicit bids that were coming out. So we did get that list, Mr. Brooks, and I did look at it. And like I said, I did identify those potential firms that I think would be qualified to bid on Hickman Mills. Next slide. And then I know Vice President Kendrick asked on what we're going to do to solicit those, how are we going to get the word out. When we do have the advertisement, I did talk to Kelvin Perry with the Black Chamber, and we will be sending the invitation out to him. We also will be sending it to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We've got somebody at the Kansas City Star. There's a typo, so it's the Call newspaper. Did talk to Eric Wesson, so he said just let him know. KC Blue has a plan room. It'll go out to the Builders Association, and then we do want to post on the Hickman Mills website for them to go through as well. Also on the list that we hadn't is I do want it to go out to a lot of the Baptist ministers here in Kansas City for them to get it out to any of their membership as well.
Okay, so I'm actually excited about the outreach that our team has done. specifically because as our team is calling these contractors, they're super excited about it, and they're thanking us for reaching out to them and giving them the opportunity. And so that's really a good thing. On the last board meeting, President Watry and Director Brooks, you asked us for the names of the contractors, their contract value, and what percentage of the contract that is. So I went back and that's what I have here. So Phillips Paving, 1.1 million was their contract value. Boswell and Lee Trucking was an MBE, and they were 0.4%, 0.46% of Phillips's contract. C Sharp, same thing. And so kind of as you move through this, one of the things that we talked about early on in our board meetings was where the opportunity lied for asphalt and concrete, heavy civil. And so here is that list broken down as you've requested. And I think that we've captured everything that you were asking for. If not, please let me know, and I'll be able to get that corrected for the next board meeting. So next slide, please. All right, to wrap up the overall bid package 1 with asphalt and concrete. On our budget, 2.1 million, and we're on budget, not over. Once I total all of those numbers of minority contractors throughout the total duration of that particular project at the time, we actually ended up at 7.75%. And for WBEs, we actually ended up with 16.22%. So just a little shy of 24%, I guess. Well, right at about 24% total to disadvantage businesses, whether WBE, DBE, or MBE firms. I'm actually really, I'm where opportunity doesn't completely exist in this arena. I'm happy with what I was able to get to. I am not satisfied with it. And as I told you, with the follow-on packages, it should be significantly better. And as Latasha mentioned, the personal phone calls, getting out to these folks and getting them excited about your project will help us raise this number quite a bit, I believe. So again, I'm happy where I landed. I'm not satisfied with it. And we're going to continue to push to try and get as much participation on your subsequent projects as possible. And with that, are there any questions, comments for me?
Mr. President?
I had a couple of questions. I wanted to get it in before Mr. Brooks gets you.
Okay.
So
Yes, ma'am.
thank you both for following up on what our request. And Latasha, you did a great job calling all those companies. Out of those companies, have any of them submitted a bid yet?
Not yet. What the process that we're in right now, Vice President Kendrick, is we're doing constructability review and we're putting together estimates. So what they have done and what the team has done was send out pre-qualification forms to make sure that they have the capacity to work on your project. And we're getting those back within a matter of hours. And, the contractors are excited. I've not seen anything like it in terms of how quickly they're responding to make sure that they can bid the job. And so at this point, once it goes out February 2nd, then they will be able to bid it. And then I'll be able to share, how many of those firms actually did bid the job, because I can't control that. Once I put it in their hands, it's up to them. I can't control it on bid day.
Okay, I had another question. Going back to like the second page, I think the second or third page where you have packets, packet 1 and packet 2, where you listed the budget. Okay, no, go back. It was the one right before that. There, right there. Where it says the budget is one amount and then the estimated cost is more than the budget. So why is that?
So
That's just currently, yeah, go ahead, Marquise, go ahead.
so that's currently how we were tracking at the time of design development. And so at this point we have 100% drawings, and then from a contractor standpoint, the more complete drawings are, the more accurate the estimate becomes. So at this point, we have not turned a new estimate in to the design team as of yet.
Okay, but the budget amount is less than the estimated cost. So you think the estimated cost will increase or will it go down to meet our budget?
So we will do what's necessary to get to the budget. If that answers the question, we're not going to knowingly go out knowing we're over budget and then bid a project and ask the district to find dollars because we knew we were over budget.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. And then one other question, when you said the punch list, the things that have been completed on the punch list, could you list them and also what needs to be completed? I know you said it, but
yes, you want me to put that on a slide for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And thank you both for a great job. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Ms. Kendrick cheated. She had an idea of what I was going to say, so she took it away, and I do respect my sisters. Let me just say this. So I want to congratulate Ms. McCall for getting with the Human Relations Department. There's no agency this side of Missouri that is any more thorough in terms of vetting potential MBWBEs. If they certify you, you have been through the ringer. And they dot all the I's and cross all the T's and send you back for more. And if you don't meet their criteria, you don't get certified. And so the state is a little different. They accept what you send them and some of the other agencies, but not the Human Relations Board. So thank you, Ms. McCall, for your thoroughness, if you will, and what you've done there. And also, Mr. Kenyon, good to hear you say with regard to your attempt to increase those numbers as we go along, as this second phase comes through where Ms. McCall has made those calls to those all those companies that seem to be certified. Well, they are certified if they came from the Human Relations Department. Hopefully that they will be able to pick up some of the bids that you sent out as subcontract. And so I thank you for your willingness and your concern, of course, both willingness and concern for increasing those numbers. So so this time I'm not fussing at you today. But it's may not be over yet, but I'm just kidding. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Only thing that I will add to their comments is that I appreciate you guys taking the time to actually address the questions in which we had and come back. Marquise, I really appreciate the fact that you stated that you're not satisfied, and I appreciate your persistence in this matter. I am grateful in the aspect of the vetting process is going through for you to kind of break Ms. McCall to break down those numbers of like the 244 to 105 to getting to 79 potential bidders. Even in the aspect of the numbers that are presented. The only thing that I have to say is thank you. So with that, I guess we'll just keep moving, keep pushing ahead, keep moving forward.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to consent items. The chair is seeking a motion to approve for the approval of December's 2020 consent items.
I move that we accept the consent item. Where's the consent items? I can't see it.
Oh, the approval of the
The approval of consent items.
right.
Should I list all the numbers?
No, ma'am. 7.1 kind of covers it in the aspect of requesting, the chair is requesting action relative to the approval of these consent items, which you first, we're just seeking a second at this point.
I second.
All right. It's been moved in second, so we will call it to a vote. Vice President Kendrick?
Aye.
Director Townsend?
Aye.
Director Graves? Ms. Graves?
I said aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Director Carter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0. See, we are moving on to being the fact that we don't have any items pulled from consent, we will be moving on to 9.0, which is the December 2020 financial report.
Good evening, board.
Evening.
It's the one that says PPT on the end of it for PowerPoint. There we go. Thank you. So this is the financial report as of December 31st, 2020. You'll see the working budget for the revenues has increased because of the bonds. We're at 123 million. As in December, we received in 52.8 million, which does include the 32 million from the bond. The year-to-date receipts were at 71 million. And then the remaining budget to be received is 51.8 million. So a percent of funds received so far this year, 57.8 compared to 40.3% at this time last year. Expenses with a working budget is also increased due to the bond, 115 million. December expenses, we paid out 7.4 million. Year to date, 33.1 million. And the remaining budget to be spent is 81.9 million for a percent of expenses paid at 28.8 compared to 42.1% this time last year. Now the bond does play a part in those numbers. So we have 30 million that we have not spent yet. So that's the difference between the 28 and the 42. So the revisions, the only real change we had in the budget was the addition of the bond money, which was 32.9 million. And then this is just a list of the GO bond. I was gonna show you the beginning balance and what's been spent and where we are at the end of each month. So you'll see the 32.9 million. As of December, we had spent 1.8 million. So at this December 31st, we still had 30,840,000 in our bond fund. This is the cash balance. You'll see the bond is included now in the capital. And the tax anticipation note as of December 31st, it will be paid back to the bank as of tomorrow, that 3.5 million. And then the health insurance fund, I'm sorry, I can't hardly see it. 184,000 is what we ended December with in our health insurance. Thank you, Johnny. Or 154,000. Okay, and the next screen. So our fund balance at projected for the end of the year for 2021 is 15.8, 15.6 for 21-22, and right now 14.7 for the 2022-23 school year. So the superintendent is recommending approval of the December 2020 financial report.
Mr. President, may I ask Ms. Wiltsey a question?
Yes, sir, please do.
Ms. Wilson, would you go back to where you have the breakout of the, I just was wondering, let's see, let's go right there. Could the person sort of make it a little larger? There you go, thank you. 33.8, does that represent the existing amount in the capital improvement plus the bond?
I'm sorry, yes. So because it's all considered capital, it's separated out, it has its own fund, but it's considered capital. So yes, that 30 million down at the bottom is the remaining amount.
But how much, so we're giving Mr. Weekly an awful lot of money. So I'm thinking, how much does he actually have in his capital fund right now?
Well,
I don't see that.
I believe we budgeted 600,000 for you, Dan, didn't we? For the beginning of the school year, for just operations capital. But there's capital that comes into play. There's technology capital. There's other things that make up that capital fund. We have leases that are capital. So there's other things besides that as well.
So we're kind of commingling, if you will, all the capitals together, which includes the bond.
At the total numbers, yes, but we're not commingling the funds. The funds for the bond are separating in a separate bank account. And when I pay the bills, I transfer money from that account into our general account to cover those charges.
Okay, so the 33.8 just represents, I'm kind of, I know you've answered, represents not only the bond, but all other capitals that Mr. Weekly has to work with.
The district has to work with, yes. Mr. Weekly, portion of it, but not all of it is Mr. Weekly. So
now, do we have any assurances that Mr. Weekly won't get into that other money?
Mr. Weekly does not have access to that other money. And ask him, I will be on him. He knows that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, those were a really good questions. Those are detailed questions. I think that's, you kind of alluding to line item budgeting where you see a lot of lines and there'll be a lot of accounts. So we're sparing you from that. But yeah, I think Ms. Wilson.
That's what I'm kind of used to. All that kind of.
The line item,
The city and the police department's budget is kind of line itemed out.
Line item kind of.
Yes.
And that, you will see that on the financial report itself. I just didn't bring that over into the PowerPoint.
Okay.
So if you go down.
Yeah.
I had probably page 3. It's fund 041. If you go back. Page 4. Where is it? Revenues. What page are you on, Johnny? I'm sorry.
I'm on 4.
Okay. Go up one more. Okay, right here at the very, where'd it go?
I think that there's
very
some,
bottom.
At the
very bottom of the page. So that was the revenue.
Am I not in the right area anymore?
I think there's some bond items on page 4.
Okay, at the very top.
Of page 4, top of page 4.
Okay, there they are. Sorry, thank you. So you'll see the bond premiums.
Yes.
That's what was received. So, and then I have another section for expenses down at the bottom.
And so, the bond, if I might, before you leave it, the bond premiums of that 29, is that?
That's what we made over and above the bond that we had requested. So we have 30 million and we made the 2.9 over that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your eyes, Dr. Obing, or Mr. Obing.
No worries.
So if there isn't any further questions, the chair is seeking a motion for approval of the December 2020 financial report.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the 20. I don't have it before me, but I think
December 2020 financial report.
As the president is so stated. That's what I move.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you, ladies. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to call it to a vote.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I just have one question. Shelley, I know you probably have to work it out with Mr. Obing. Is there a way that we can like have a dummies class for your finance report? At one point,
I know Mr. Obing and I have discussed doing that with the board. So
Yeah, and that's actually as part of my comments, so I can address some of that, Shelley, in terms of some next steps that we're gonna try to do to help the board in doing their fiduciary responsibility and monitoring the finances, right? So we've got some work to do to prepare you to do your obligations that we're quite aware of.
thank you.
Good. That's good. Thank you, Ms. Kendrick.
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick. Thank you, Mr. Obeng. All right, we'll call it to a vote. Director Carter,
Aye.
Director Graves,
Aye.
Director Brooks,
Aye.
Director Townsend,
Aye.
and Vice President Kendrick.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0.
thank you, board.
All right, moving on to item 9.2, which is the Ruskin Field change order.
So back in August, when we first put out the bids for, or opened the bids for this and interviewed our companies, one of the issues that came up that had to be, the question that had to be answered was, how was the drainage system that was 1.5 to 2 feet underneath the field itself? Well, this was something that no one knew. So in that process, as we're interviewing companies, Kiefer, who we actually picked as the one, they were the only company out of the 5 that we interviewed that actually gave us a price. They had done this kind of work before and understood what it took to replace it, and offered a price for us, as well as a price for the goalposts, understanding that they may have the same issue since we could never get them straight and never get them to stand up correctly. In addition to that, we also found out that they were NFL height and NFL width and not high school height and high school width. So in the fall, in October, November, after uncovering the field and demoing the field about 18 to 24 inches, we did discover that the drainage system had been destroyed and was no longer functional. In October and November, I showed you pictures of that drainage system and of the new drainage system that went in. And without that drainage system, the field just would not function properly, would not stay the life of the warranty of 8 to 10 years. So it was something that had to be replaced, and we were fortunate that Kiefer was ready for that. It did obviously delay our schedule quite a bit. It took about 2.5 weeks to do that drainage system, to redo it. But thankfully they were ready for it. The other companies were going to do a time and material approach, which would have cost substantially more and would have delayed it even longer. So we were very fortunate that, although we never like to have change orders, this was truly a change order that was an unforeseen, that we really had to demo to really find out what the issue was, or even if we had an issue. And unfortunately we did. They gave us a price at the very beginning of $85,140 for the drainage system, and then the goalposts, which will be replaced for both goalposts, $25,000. So that gets us to our change order of $110,000 over what we originally bid on. I would remind the board the $240,000 that the PIAC folks are going to give us still puts us at a price, even with the change order, at $370,000 for a football field. Most fields at this point come in around $650,000 to $700,000 for a total replacement like we're doing. So we're still under that amount, even with the change order. So we're very pleased with the price, very pleased with the product they put in. So.
Dan, do you want to read your recommendation?
Oh, I'm sorry. My recommendation is that we approve the Ruskin Field turf change order of $110,140.
All right. If there's no discussion beforehand, chair is seeking a motion for the approval of the change order for, you said $110,140.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I have a question for Mr. Weekly.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Sure.
you say that they will be able to straighten up the goalposts or no?
No, we'll have to, they're replacing them.
They're replacing
They have to, yeah, they were beyond repair. So they had, the steel that's underneath the ground had really deteriorated to the point, part of it because it wasn't draining. I mean, it's all connected where, since the fuel wasn't draining properly, it basically rotted the guts of the base of the goalposts, which is another reason why it was consistently
Oh,
back and forth. So it's all connected. If the drainage system isn't correct, it just really kind of destroys the field, even the goalposts. So it's a critical function.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Chair is still seeking a motion.
I move to accept the recommendations of approval of the, I can't see it anymore.
The Ruskin turf field change order.
Ruskin turf change order, yes. The Ruskin turf change order.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right. With your silence, I will call to a vote. Vice President Kendrick.
Aye.
Director Townsend.
Aye.
Director Brooks.
Aye.
Director Graves.
Aye.
Director Carter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, board.
All right, it moves us on to 9.3, the approval of the resolution. He's moving so fast with clicking. Relative to the approval of the resolution to COVID leave time.
Yes, good evening, President Watry, members of the board. I'll be walking you through this request this evening. I'm just going to kind of walk through the memo because it kind of lays forth the necessary information. Last spring, Congress passed the Families First Coronavirus Recovery Act. Within that was the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, which was in place through December 31st, 2020. And what that provided was up to 10 days of leave time related to COVID reasons, and additionally provided some additional triggers for qualifying for FMLA in its normal sense. As the memo mentions, that was allowed to expire as planned on December 31st, 2020. So that leave is no longer available to employees. Many districts had inquired about expanding that leave for the remainder of the school year. So what MSBA did was drafted a resolution that boards could use as a template to adopt to continue that leave. The MSBA's recommendation was to do this work through a resolution versus modifying board policy, because then you would have to adopt board policy and then go back and undo board policy. The resolution is very time set in terms of the length of time that it would be in place. So what this resolution would provide would be the continuation of the 10 days of COVID leave with some modifications. So the 10 days that were provided would continue on through the end of this school year, June 30th, 2021, as is. And what that means, if employees that have already used those days would not be able to get a new set of 10 days. But employees that had not needed to take advantage of those days and would need to in the spring would still have those available as leave. The other difference as part of this resolution is that because we're an employer and choosing to extend this, employees would use 2 of their personal leave days before they would have access to the bank of 10 COVID leave days. We feel it's important to carry this out through the end of the school year, especially if we get into a place where we are coming back in yellow or green status, where we will have all of staff back on site, that if staff feel like they are getting sick or have been exposed or need to quarantine, that they have the leave days available to them through the COVID leave to take advantage of that time if needed, and don't feel like they need to make themselves come to work. If you're reading the paper, you may have seen an article this week that now that we have a new administration, extending this leave may be back on the table when it comes to Congress. The resolution allows for that. The very last clause of that in 14 allows for the amendment or termination of the resolution should Congress put something into effect. So if Congress 2 weeks from now says we're reenacting the 10 days leave, we would go, obviously that's federally mandated by law. We would follow that law if it's enacted. And then what I would do is come back to the board in February meeting to have you undo the resolution, and we would just backtrack to whenever the Congress leave took place again. So it does allow, if that should occur, for the board to take action to undo it. But otherwise, if Congress does nothing, this resolution would stay in place through June 30th, 2021. So the recommendation is for approval, adoption of the board resolution related to COVID leave as presented.
All right, with that being said, if there's no questions, the chair is seeking a motion for the approval of this board resolution for COVID relief or COVID leave time.
Move that we approve the recommendation of the resolution of this COVID leave time.
All right.
Can y'all make the screen a little bigger? Thank you.
All right. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? All right. With your silence, I'll call it to a vote.
I'm sorry, I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So under this act, is substitute teachers covered under this, or since they're contracted?
Right, no, they would not be. Substitutes would not be, because it's only if people are given leave time, they're provided by us as an employer, but substitutes or even substitutes we hire through the nutrition services would not qualify for that time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Director Graves?
Aye.
Director Brooks?
Aye.
Director Carter?
Aye.
Director Townsend?
Aye.
Vice President Kendrick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. We're now moving on to agenda item 9.4, which is the equity and inclusion policy. We're bringing this forward for the second reading. So, board members, I wanted to make sure that this was brought to you for a second reading before seeking approval. I would also like to thank Superintendent Obeng as well as Mr. Clapmeyer for assisting with ensuring that this kind of matches what the district is essentially trying to do moving forward. I wanted to read the definition of equity as a part of this policy. So equity is not the same as equal treatment because it recognizes a social cultural power imbalance that unfairly privileges some while oppressing others, and therefore focuses on readdressing disparity, meeting individuals' needs to ensure fair access, outcomes, and participation that result in equity. I guess the question that I would have for the board is, would they like a full reading or even just allowing it to be presented here for them to read on their own? And if you have any comments or questions, we have 20 minutes allotted for each agenda item that we do so before the chair seeks a motion for approval.
President Watra, I would be happy to do a thumbnail for board members if you felt that would be helpful in the discussion.
Absolutely. Please.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so one of the things I think that right at the top, if you can see that President Watry and staff looked at, is really identifying what the intent of the policy is, and you can read that because we do have a racial equity policy already on the books. We didn't want to lose that. So in the formatting, you can see at the top there that we've included that as a reference point for people to understand. But this policy is a broader policy that includes both students, staff, community members, and also, I guess, board members as well, too. So it's very inclusive. And it also hits all the articles under the Human Rights Code that's inclusive of that, because we do want to be an equitable employer of choice. So that's the intent. If you scroll down, the first reading had a number of areas where the was brought forward in terms of actionable procedures for the district to implement within schools. The heading there is Programmatic Requirements. And you can see these categories. We tried to ensure that we covered sort of pretty much all aspects of function of the enterprise in order to ensure there's equity throughout everything that we do. So starting from board policies and guidelines, issues around leadership, school community partnerships. Curriculum, of course, is critical. That's often we talk about student achievement and curriculum development, what happens. Language was critical. That's one that's often omitted, and we wanted to make sure that that was covered because it not only addresses the issue of people with limited English ability, but also auditory language and visual aids and things like that for servicing. And of course, evaluation, assessment, placement, guidance and counseling, because we're aware that the social network and social emotional supports are needed within our district. And one of the things that was brought forward for sure from our HR department in terms of employment and promotion practices, that we have good procedures and practices to ensure that we have equitable processes when we're doing our hiring. This also guards the board against any sort of suits or any sort of civil rights claims. At some point, we will be able to bring forward documentation of the process as least biased as possible to continue the hiring. And of course, staff development, and then on the books is already a harassment policy. And in every policy statement the board makes, we thought it was important to declare that the staff, the superintendent, is directed to develop procedures to carry out those practices. So that kind of is a comprehensive overview that encompasses all sort of aspects, and it's an umbrella policy statement that charges the staff to implement all their actions within an equity lens.
Thank you, Mr. Obing. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Can you, I can't do it here. Can you scroll that down to the beginning? Someone who's handling that?
Natalie.
You
want to scroll up to the top there, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Natalie, can you move it up to the top? You still there?
He might have, I don't see him.
Maybe he's on his break.
I think he might have took a break. Oh, yeah. Hey, Johnny. Oh. Yeah, Johnny might have stepped away for a moment.
Is there a certain part of that I would share, but he's sharing, so I can't unshare it.
Mr. President, Ms. Obing, I don't think I need that. In your development procedures, I noticed it says here in the last, I was saying what it said in the beginning, but I see it also in the last sentence of development procedure. Additionally, the Board of Education that within 2 years of the adoption of this policy and if determined to be financially feasible, the superintendent creates a central office level position focused on implementing, monitoring, assessing the requirements of policy. Have we, it says after 2 years, I would assume, since we don't have the funds right now to, and the conditions that we're under to put such a person in place, I would assume after the evaluation, is that the intent of a couple of years, and you determine whether or not there are funds to make a administrative position?
Absolutely. You
Yes,
you
sir.
don't need clarification. You got that absolutely right. Clearly, there's a bulk load of work that the Human Resources Department could not implement on its own, that they'll need added resources. At the same time, we're in the middle of COVID. We're also trying to balance out finances. So we felt it'd be prudent to put that piece in, that we wanted to make sure that we had the finances to do that in order to implement all those actions.
Yeah. And it would seem to me that, and I understand the importance of that, and it seemed to me that that individual would certainly be working very closely with the superintendent as well as HR department or HR director. Anyway, because that's kind of a hand in hand, at least the two of them, who I would assume would be pretty much equals in status within the organization. But that's fine. I read that some time ago, and I thought about that, and I know we wouldn't have the money to come up with such a position now.
Right.
I wish we did, because as soon as we adopt this, that person should be going to work.
Absolutely, and that's why we put that
Absolutely.
in there, because we know we don't have the funds to do it right now.
Yes.
But we want so, but it gives us some
But-
time to kind of prepare for it. So thank you for acknowledging that. Appreciate it.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Yeah, because another caveat to this is also the board just being able to look at our policies, our current policies, as we update them in the future through an equitable lens, kind of using this this policy as a format to be able to review the policies and make sure that they're up to date, and that they're put through an equitable lens to make sure that we're providing equity and inclusion even throughout our policies. So,
Yes.
all right. Is there any other discussion or questions?
I think, Mr. President, you're asking for a motion for the board to adopt the policy as presented.
Yes, sir.
Then, Mr. President, I would move that we adopt the equity policy as presented by yourself and the superintendent.
I second.
The policy has been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if there's no further discussion, we will call it to a vote. Director Townsend,
Aye.
Director Graves,
Aye.
Director Brooks,
Aye.
Director Carter,
Aye.
Vice President Kendrick,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. President, if I might, I'd really like to congratulate you and the superintendent for putting all this together. I would assume that Ms. Carl had a hand in it somewhere there. If she did, I congratulate her. If she didn't, I still congratulate her. I think it's most timely that we, as we move into a new era in terms of a board after the election in April, to kick this off would certainly be important for new board members, if there are new board members.
Yes, sir. That was the intention, to ensure that, you know, that we keep moving forward and we stay innovative with the changes that are coming up. So thank you. So that brings us to item 9.5, which is the restorative practice resolution for the second reading as well.
When we get the Vitaly, you back? Can we get the mics muted? Because I'm getting some feedback from someone.
And if we can make the document a little larger for us with.
Now, Mr. Obeng, based on the fact that you spoke so eloquently before, if you could, for this resolution as well.
Sure, I would.
Sorry, don't mean to put you on the spot.
Can you hear me? I don't know if my mic.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Vital, you can start from the top again.
And can you make it a little bigger for us?
A little bit bigger. All right. So thank you once again. So this on behalf of the board, this resolution, we did have the first reading, and we had an opportunity as staff to discuss how restorative practices could be implemented in our district, and presented this information as input for your second reading. You notice the format is similar. One of the things we want to ensure is a process of tracking, having a paper trail around the actions that the board is taking, so we can refer to them and continue to implement. So you can see at the top there that's categorized, even though it's a resolution. Once again, we did provide a definition, and thanks to President Watry for prompting us to examine the issues around restorative practices, to give us the opportunity to come up with some of this information. If you look at it, there's a definition there. And I'll read the first stanza here if I can get into it. The HMC will use the term restorative practice as the umbrella term encompasses the range of strategies, interventions, and practices that restore wellness within the school district community. This is inclusive of the term restorative justice. We went with the term restorative practice. I think I might have commented with the board previously around the term restorative justice and restorative practice. Restorative practices certainly gives us a range of different strategies around restoring harm or creating a positive environment, whereas restorative justice really often connects to law and order. And for many communities, especially in African American community, when they hear the term justice, some people connect it as just us, that is just justice is only applied to a particular group. So we felt this is a more inclusive approach in terms of using the term restorative practices to invite everyone to be in the circle. The bottom stanza talks about the philosophy that sets approaches rooted in indigenous teachings that emphasizes our interconnection by repairing relationships when harm occurs, or proactively building, maintain relationships to prevent future harm. We felt it was important to recognize the roots of the restorative practices, which came from indigenous peoples and the work they've done. So we wanted to make sure the board acknowledges that explicitly in their resolution. The resolution below, if you can scroll up, I won't read everything to you, but I will tell you that as you go through, you'll notice that in each whereas, we've identified a particular area of school implementation that would offer staff an opportunity to build a systemic plan to be implemented in every one of our schools. So the first stanza just talks about just a district-wide sort of integrated plan. The second one talks more about school climate intervention and violence prevention work that needs to happen through restorative practices, while acknowledging the issues around disproportionality within minority groups. The third stanza talks about the relationship building, repair, and harm. The intention of restorative practice is to be able to resolve conflicts or potential conflicts in a manner that all parties go out looking to move forward to keep wellness within that group. And then the other stanza here with the 6 areas of practices just breaks down the different areas that we need to consider around teacher expectations, school interventions, misconduct, and use of data in solving problems. So we wanted to be inclusive in that. And then, so I'll scroll, you can read through that. But the last one I'll speak to, because this is often a challenge, around age-appropriate interventions, right? So what we would do with restorative practices with first grader or second grader or third grader is a lot different than what would happen at the secondary level, right? So we need to balance that off. And then the last stanza just talks about the board's commitment to being resolved to this intellectual engagement in terms of for our schools. One of the things this will allow us to do as a district is to develop a systemic plan from the top all the way through all our schools, and also start connecting with community partners and even with law enforcement in terms of how they interact with our schools, staff, and community going forward. So if the board passes this resolution, I'd be very excited to work with our staff and work with other organizations who are leading this work in restorative practices to implement something across our district as we move forward. That's a quick overview. President Watry, if I missed anything in the conversations, please.
Oh, no, sir. And I think the only thing that I would add is that I know that the district has already been doing restorative practices for years now. This allows us to be able to take a more proactive approach rather than a more reactive approach or an aspect of conflict resolution. And I commend those who have been doing it in the district, as well as the trainings that have been provided. This kind of takes more of a systematic approach in the aspect of how we do things. And I would also like to thank Dr. Skinner, because Dr. Skinner had a lot of work to do on this as well. He spent a whole year along with several of the staff, Ms. Franklin, just reviewing the how we look at school discipline all last year. So the aspect is that we continue to be proactive and innovative in trying to provide more equitable policies and procedures for our school district.
Yes. Yep. And the other piece is that this is the good news piece to this as well too, is that our preliminary conversations with CCR, it's a conflict resolution group that was already doing some work in our district, and my conversations with them was about the dollars, right? In terms of, and they've already indicated that they have funds that we could access, implement, develop and implement a systemic plan. Because right now, what happens with these kind of things, it happens in one school, happens in one class, but we want to be able to go across the entire district and be able to give access to all our schools at the same time and collaborate in terms of how we move forward. So with that, I'll present it back to you, President Watry, to present with the board, and we'll wait to your approval.
The chair is seeking a motion for the approval of the restorative practice resolution to be added into policy.
I move that we accept the restorative practice resolution to our policy.
Is there a second?
A second.
The motion's been moved and it's been moved and seconded. The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There have been some people that have been trained in this, but overall, when you look at the district as a whole, what is the plan? I mean, if we're going to adopt this, what is the plan to train all of our teachers? Because all of them are not trained, and some of them know very little, if anything, about this restorative practice. So I would like to know what are you going to do? What are you going to roll? Are you going to roll out a plan when the teachers come back? Because all teachers have not been trained in this, and you do want everyone on the same page. So that's my question.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that Superintendent O'Bing kind of spoke to the aspect of working out something that works systematically for the district as a whole, even working with I think it's conflict resolution, CCR. Am I correct on that? Yeah. And so they have the funds and availability to help us create a procedural aspect of how we're going to ensure that our teachers are trained, that we have coordination on making sure that it's not just in one classroom or on one team, but actually emphasize from top to bottom. I don't know if that answers you.
So I guess, we're voting on something. We're not really clear on how you're going to implement it. You're going to get help from, it just seems like we're voting on something, but we really don't know, at least I don't know, how or what you're going to do to get this training other than connecting with someone. I mean, I'm just not clear on that. It seems to be very vague.
May I supplement your response, President Watry?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ms. Graves, your question is the logical one, and this is actually a resolution from the board. So once the board approves this, then that gives us staff permission to go ahead and develop a plan. And so what I've kind of already indicated is prior to even approving it, we've done some homework and we've connected with organizations that are willing to help us develop a plan that is inclusive of all our schools. You're absolutely right that some teachers are trained and some teachers are not. but we want a plan that's going to be implemented with all our schools and give training for all our staffs. I've had some experience with this. I was able to do this in my previous boards, actually, to do a system-wide training. And it probably takes about a year, year and a half, 2 years to go through the whole district. But then you become a restorative practice district, and then you can go to the next tiers in terms of implementation. So if the board approves this resolution, that gives us permission to go ahead and start doing the work and partnering with people who can help us develop a really good plan. And of course, we would update the board on progress on that work.
Okay, I guess what I was looking for someone to say is, as we approve this board, we have a plan, a year-long plan to work with our staff. But to me, it seemed like, well, let's approve this. And I just think it's important for the board to know if you have things in place and you have a plan, then I think that's just like you just explained that to me. I think that's important to explain that. We vote on a lot of stuff, and sometimes we really don't understand the full magnitude of it. Then we get involved in it, and we say, God, why didn't I ask this question, or why didn't I ask? I'm not against it. I just want to make sure that our teachers and our staff are thoroughly trained, even though there are some teachers and staff that are familiar with this. There are many that are not. So that's just
I think you're asking the right questions. You're asking the right questions to probe us. Yes, and so we'd be happy to, once you give us permission to go ahead, when we've developed the plan, we come back and give you another opportunity to probe the plan before we implement as well too.
Okay,
so.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. In addition to that, is also the fact that some of the proactive steps, the measures that we've taken place is when Mr. Or Dr. Skinner had put together the committee last year to kind of review school discipline. A lot of what he had looked at was the tiers that are available in restorative practices, so that once the infrastructure was set up and this approval happens, that the staff can be able to provide more of a procedural aspect of how that's following out. So I guess to answer your question a little bit is I appreciate your question in the aspect that this is a step-by-step process, but it's proactive.
I just have one other comment.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very important that we read the information before we get to the meeting, because I think it was clarified in that document. But we can move forward.
What did you say?
I said it was clearly stated in the document, and it's important that we all review all the documents prior to the meeting.
So who is that in reference to?
I'm just making a comment, ma'am. I'm just making a comment.
So if we're going to have further discussion on the matter, we can.
I have.
Yes, sir.
One thing. I like the policy, but I believe it falls short on what the district needs. I mean, it addresses the students, but I think it should be part of an overall conflict resolution policy that goes from board members all the way down. And this could be a branch off of that policy. And it's, instead of just dealing with students, it could deal with staff and staff and administration. Once you start doing conflict resolution, because we all have past, we all have present. I mean, we all have past. We all have certain views on how we view each thing, and sometimes people aren't educated in conflict resolutions or have ideals on how to resolve things to a point where they can move on from. So, like I said, this is great for the students, but it should be probably part of an overall district policy under the heading of conflict resolution.
So within that, if I could just, I guess, elaborate just a little bit more. The aspect of conflict resolution is to assume that there is a conflict beforehand, and that anything that's a conflict resolution is considered a response, or more or less a reaction. The aspect of the resolution that's been brought up is taking a more proactive approach in creating more community-based. Almost think of it in the aspect of a framework that is rooted in relationship building, or in rebuilding. I mean, the idea essentially is for this to assist the other policy in which we just discussed on creating a culture of equity. And the resolution itself does hint to the fact that this kind of does go, restorative practices would be something that would be implemented district-wide from top to bottom, which would also include the board. With that being said, I appreciate you pointing that out, Director Townsend. The goal of this is to ensure that we're taking a more proactive approach, so that we address the conflict before it happens, and create a sense of of community, not just not just with the students, but also with the staff, with us, and help us create a more interconnected community that restores, essentially, which the practices restore the wellness of the school district. I don't know if that.
President Watson, can I just put a point of clarification?
Yes, sir.
I think Director Townsend is looking to make this more affirmative, and I get where he's coming from.
Right.
Look at this. This is actually a resolution, not a policy.
Right.
Board is being resolved to make a statement about restorative practice. So you're just saying that this is really important, and we want the district to take actions to consider this as they move forward. In the first stanza, be it resolved, we talk about students, staff, leadership, and community. So leadership is you and it's me, right? Students, staff, and community. So it represents our whole community. So my hope is that as we move forward in this, that we get an opportunity to do restorative practice training with the board about what is restorative practices, what are the things. I think it would come in handy for the board in terms of using restorative practice. So I would love to have a training session when it's just for the board, and then we're going to work our way throughout our district. And I'm hoping that we have community partners like the police force, as well as some of our organizations that get into it, so we can all communicate and look at resolving challenges of all kinds together in a way that can further our students and our community. But it is inclusive of everyone. We didn't leave anybody out in terms of the resolution. It is a resolution. So for the board, I mean, if the board wanted to take the next step, they could do a policy that, but I don't think it's necessary. I think your resolution kind of, because it's a program, right?
Right.
Kind of hits on all different aspects that we'd be able to implement.
Thank you, Mr. O'Bean, because I was thinking policy, and thanks for pointing out we're talking resolution. Thanks for that.
Thank you for your analysis as well.
Mr. Watchery,
yes,
just
ma'am.
another quick comment. I just want to say, just because I'm asking questions about something that we're trying to do, that's not necessarily in no means saying that I'm not supporting it. I think it is important. I'm going to say to everybody on this, the board members, we have a right to question things. That doesn't mean that we are not for it. Mr. O'Bean gave me some additional information. So I don't want us to, or I don't want someone to appear like they're attacking me because, and it may or may not, but I don't like it. I have a right to share my opinion. I have a right to ask for more information. That's anybody on this board, because it's important that we have clarity. It's important that we understand what we're voting on, why we're voting on it, and how it's going to be implemented. So I felt that Mr. O'Bean answered my question. So I'm just saying that. I mean, just because we ask questions don't necessarily mean that we're not all in. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Graves, you mentioned my name, so I'm going to speak. Asking your questions allows me to clarify exactly, because
Absolutely.
you're right, you're going to vote on it. And so you're going to have to be able to stand behind it and say, yeah, this is what we supported. So if you're unclear, I have no problem in terms of.
You're absolutely correct.
Right. So thank you for that.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? All right. We will call it to a vote. Director Graves.
Aye.
Director Townsend.
Aye.
Vice President Kendrick.
Aye.
Director Brooks.
Aye.
Director Carter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0. All right, we are moving on to item 10.1. Which covers board organizational meetings and committees. Ms. Graves, this is the item in which you wish to discuss.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Watcher. I brought this up. For the new board members that just came on, you're probably not familiar with this, but what we used to do, we used to have committees. We have the Education Committee, the Policy Committee, and the Finance Committee. And so what we did, we met with these committees once a month. Sometimes if we didn't have anything to meet with, we didn't, but most of the time we would meet once a month, and we would bring to them concerns that the board had in those areas, or things that are going on in those particular areas. And they would report back to the entire board what was going on. And I thought about the conversation Mr. Brooks had with the people that are doing the building, and how if we were in that finance meeting or whatever, a lot of that stuff would come out. So some of the things come out in the meetings that we bring back to the board. So it was very successful. I think when we came together this particular year, things were kind of shaky, just based on how we did elections and all that. So we didn't do it, but I think it was very beneficial. Mr. Watcher, you did the policy, and Brooks did the finance, and I was on the education. And so, I thought that these committees were very beneficial. Just because you have committees, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to meet every month. If you don't have anything to meet about, if the board doesn't have any concerns that they want to talk about, you wouldn't necessarily have to meet. But I just wanted to bring it back to the board and ask them if there was an interest. I need Trinice, you were on one of those committees as well. So for the people that were on in the past, I just kind of wanted to get some feedback on if there was still an interest in doing that.
Sorry, my mic was muted.
You're on now. I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I mean, it was beneficial. Don't get me wrong. It was beneficial because we had those meetings, and then we had, everyone took their own agenda. Like, we had those meetings and we knew what was going on in that area. Like I said, on the, what was the, it's been so long, it seems like I can't remember the committee's name. That's crazy. But what we did was we got that personal information that we knew, like some things that need to be done. Like right now, for instance, with the buildings that we still haven't had any information on about, and I want to bring that up tonight, about selling our buildings. That was something that was discussed in that particular area. So we bring it to the board. We knew what was going on. We shared it with the board, and you had that one-on-one interaction with those type of people. But see, right now, I was like, well, what's going on with the buildings? Are we selling them? We're still sitting on it? Those type of things right there, I think that's what Mr. Graves is getting at. It's up in the air. We really don't know, since we didn't have those committees that basically focused on that area and bring back more information. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, either way, I'm neutral. You know, I'm neutral. I'll go both ways.
I think by having working sessions, we all have an opportunity to ask the questions. There's no middleman involved, and we all get the information directly from the staff or from the developers, just like we did tonight. I think it saves time, but that's
Well,
just
how
my,
those committees went last year, we didn't go to just anyone in the community. We actually, like Mr. Weekly, spoke with directly Mr. Weekly. We did walkthroughs on buildings that need to be fixed. Anything like maintenance wise, those type of things, we kind of got hands on with those things. Some things that it did take a lot of time, and I get what you're saying. It was a lot of time invested in those things, but I felt like I knew more what was going on when we did have those committees. And at the same time, I mean, we changed now. I mean, it's nothing wrong with what we're doing now, but it's just more, I knew more what was going on when we had those committees.
and remember in the beginning, you saw that the light bulb went off, that you were working outside your lane. Remember we had that discussion?
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
was, but in the same essence, I was getting a lot of information that I was getting before that I'm not getting now.
Okay.
So it's a two-way street. It's like before last year, I got a lot of information. I felt like I knew what was going on. To this year, where I completely feel like I don't know what's happening. Sometimes I don't hear things, and I'm wondering, is things getting done? So it's a two-way street. Like I said, last year I was doing more than after the training, I figured out, okay, you don't have to do as much, but that was my heart. I felt like it was my actual job. But I felt like I knew a lot what was going on last year. I was more up to date to now, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on in that area.
Let me just say this, for those people that, the new board members that came on, you don't know how those committees work. So I'm naturally, you would not have the information that we have, but maybe we can bring it up to a vote in April when we have a new board. If we don't want to do it now, I just think it would be good, but.
And hopefully we have the participation, because we didn't have it in the beginning.
No, but we had it at that particular time, so.
When we were trying to form committees, we didn't have enough participation.
Well, that was because of the way some things were done. But anyway, if you don't, Mr. Watt.
Yes, ma'am. So
you can take it up in April. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Townsend.
President.
Yes.
Question.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Committees.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you can answer this or if we need to go to Carla. Is there anything that prevents community members to be part of our committees? Because I know there's a lot of community members that are interested in different aspects of the branch. And, if somebody's interested in how the bond money is being spent and on construction, they may want to be on the committee that's handling that issue. I'd say, I just want to know if there were, any restrictions.
No.
There are, so if you're talking about board committees, the committees that we've been discussing for the last few minutes, finance, facilities, policy, educational accountability were the 4 board committees that we had. There are restrictions as to the composition of those committees that were voted upon by this board. I can't remember what year it was, but it's been a few years for sure. That the board voted on how those committees, the composition of those committees. Now, certainly they are public meetings, just like your work sessions are public meetings that are noticed under the Sunshine Act, and all community members can attend those meetings as an attendee. But in terms of the composition of board committees, they are restricted to board members and staff members. And there's actually a specific composition that I just don't recall off the top of my head. how many of each, but it had to be, I know it was a majority board member committee.
Okay,
So I'm sorry, there were community people that sat in on those, so I don't know what.
They sat in on them, but they weren't members of the committee. They weren't.
No, they were not. They were not.
Correct.
Yes.
They're public meetings, so they're noticed under the Sunshine Act, and anybody can attend those meetings. But in terms of the composition of who actually sits on the committee, it's restricted to board members. They were restricted to board members and staff members, and the board voted on what that composition was. I think it was 3 board members and 2 staff members. I'm not positive, but I know that the majority was the board.
Correct.
So we could change those, correct?
I'm sorry?
We could change, if we wanted to, we could change it if we wanted to add. So it's board policy that stops it. There's no laws or anything. So if we want to change the composition to add, say John Smith was a construction auditor, and we wanted him on our construction committee, and we voted to change the composition, we could do that.
The board could vote to change the composition of committees.
Can I interject here? Just I see a conversation where it's going in terms of committees, and there's different ways to get around. If you want community input in some of these pieces, if it's a board committee, that's just that name. It's the board committee, has to be board members. But you can also have resource people who are in the community to give input, or you can have community consultations and things like that, but they can't function as board members because you are the board members. You're the ones that delegate that, right? So that's why the committee structure, there's a lot of conversation, and the committees report to the board. So the board has to give the committee the charge. So there's a lot of little nuanced pieces that the board can have a conversation on in terms of how to, if you feel a need to communicate more with community, to include people as a resource or other strategies without them actually being the representative member, because only voting members are actually board members. Even staff, we're a resource to the committee in terms of giving information and direction around that. So I think this is a broad conversation, President Watry, and it does warrant some continued conversation. And I would also say that when we do have the conversation, maybe we bring MSBA in for the board to look at our practices and give us some guidance in terms of where we want to go. But I think it needs to determine first, what's the objective that because you don't want to just set up a committee just because you want to set up a committee, but you have to have a goal in terms of what you want to achieve. And if you believe a committee will do that, then we can find a strategy to do that. So I don't think anybody's talking anything complicated. We just have to kind of decide exactly what we want to achieve, and then develop a structure that's within the parameters to move in that area.
And I can go ahead, sir.
I said, even though we are on the work, I forgot what it's called. I've lost the word. We still have our committees if needed. So it's not, as if they're disappeared, but.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You could have a working session next week and a topic come up, and you could say, hey, that should be the finance committee. You guys need to go. You've got 2 months to come back with an answer to solve this problem. So because you have that structure already set up. So it's not that the committees are gone. You can still use them. Right. You just have to define exactly how you want to use them as well, right?
Right. So on September 17th, Phyllis Barks offered us education regarding forming and establishing committees. And it was then we kind of had this discussion and determined that committees don't necessarily have a specific function or time frame. They tend to get off track, or we tend to get into the weeds of the operational aspect of the district, which I think Vice President Kendrick and Director Carter was talking about. And I think that what we had kind of established, I think, in our last open session, was our last open session of like 2020, was the fact that we would have the working session. And then the working session would, like, for instance, Ms. Carter, if I was to give a scenario where Ms. Carter has questions about the facilities, in which she would want to pose questions, those can always be added to the working agenda. If at any point that we need further discussion, then we as a board can commission the committees to be acting in that aspect. Again, speaking to what what Vice President Kendrick spoke about, was the fact that at the time in which we were trying to form committees at the beginning of this year, with this new board, we did not have the availability or the capacity for committees to function wholly, because board members did not have the capacity. Those who did have the capacity only had specific capacity around certain times. End result was us creating the working session so that if we did have anything that we needed, we could create ad hoc committees to be able to address those and have them report back to the board. Now, with that being said, all of what Ms. Graves has asked for, all of what Ms. Carr has asked for, is still very available in the current way that we do things, in which we voted on. I think we voted. I want to get my dates straight. Yeah, we voted on this on September 17th. If you go to the YouTube page, you can actually see approximately at 1 hour, 26 minutes and a second to the end of the video, we kind of had this the same discussion, and we had moved that the working sessions would be best for the fourth Thursday of the week, in which everyone here kind of discussed. It was voted on unanimously 7-0. So if there is any issue with, or anything, even so much as what Ms. Carter wants to bring up or any other board member wants to bring up, that can be added to an agenda item on the working session. And that way it can be discussed. And if it's not discussed entirely, or we still do not feel like we have the amount of information we need, then we can have a committee formulated to meet and be able to report back to the board. The aspect of this was to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more lean with our time, and making sure that all the information is getting to board members in a timely fashion.
And let me just say this, as you go on and on, as
I'm done.
board members, we you know, like I said, those committees, and you were on one of them, were very beneficial. Yes. For those people that were not on them, they weren't on them, so they can only go by what they think. But so that we could move along, I said, if we don't want to bring it to a vote, maybe we can talk about it in April, because the board has the right to vote on it. You don't have to vote on it today. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. You know, that would, I didn't want us to get into a long discussion. I hear what you're saying. Okay.
Okay, I just,
that's it. Yeah. So.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to make sure that this was addressed. Okay. I hear you, but again, I wanted to make sure that this was addressed so that even when we do come up with the board meetings, we have minutes for our meetings. So even those members who are not on our board as of yet, who may be voted in our next election, they will have access and availability to review our minutes. So I want to make sure that to ensure that we don't have the same conversation more than once, that it's stated here, so that if anyone wants to draw reference to any other minutes that has taken place, or any other board members or conversations that take place, so that we can be just a little bit more lean with our time. But if there is no motion to take on this, or if no one is requesting a motion, then we can move on to the next agenda item, unless anyone else has any other further comments. All righty. We are now to 10.2, which is Senate Bill 25. So board members received emails from Superintendent Obing providing us with this information, which was forwarded to us from MSBA. And I want to just read the headline here. MSBA asked to inform your school board that about this bill, and that you contact your legislators and educate them on charter schools and the negative impact of this bill. Some of the talking points that it refers to is that charter schools in Missouri in general do not do a better job of educating students than public schools. Charter schools do not educate all students. Charter schools are not necessarily governed by elected leaders, which means it creates a lack of community input. Charter schools unnecessarily duplicate resources in the community that are struggling during a pandemic. For-profit management companies want to expand charter schools to expand their profits, not to the benefit of our students, and that Missouri charter schools have defrauded taxpayer dollars. And there is information on DESE's website in regards to this Senate bill. We've been in contact with a couple of our state legislators on how they will be voting on this bill, in which we've received that they plan to oppose this bill. We want to make sure that the community is aware that this bill exists and that we are trying our best to ensure that our students have the best quality education without taking away from the community as well. But with that being said, if there's any other comment or anything else to add, I wanted to ensure that the public was aware of this, that the board was aware of this, that if the board so decides to take action in opposition, whether it's by contacting legislators or simply by making a statement, that it's available for us to do so. So with that being said, I leave it open for comment and just to see what you think.
Mr. Watry, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
This, just as an update, as of today, this bill was combined with Senate Bill 55. So when you are reaching out on it, you may want to reference Senate Bill 55 as well. There are 3 bills that were combined, 55, 25, and 23. And this passed out of the Education Committee and was combined by the Senate. These 3 bills were combined. And so there is an MSBA legislative update tomorrow that I'm going to attend. So I will be able to bring back additional information on what MSBA is recommending, with regard to defeating the bill, the strategies that they're recommending, if there are any new updated ones as of tomorrow.
I would also like to ask to see if Ms. Graves has capacity as our MSBA delegate to possibly attend that and kind of also give us a report back to the board. I think she might have stepped away while I said that.
Forward the information.
I'm sorry.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
It seems to me, regardless of what the MSBA does, I think we have a public obligation to oppose this because the whole intent is to, it's just very simple, dissolve the school districts that are not performing in accordance with the state's mandate and make charter schools out of all of them. I think we ought to have a resolution drawn up by the council and yourself, or at least the council, and it that's represented pretty much of whatever discussion we have, that we oppose this. Because there's intent, when they established, I suspect all of you know as much about this as I do, but I remember when the legislature first passed the statute that established charter schools, and it's only for St. Louis and Kansas City, and those were the school districts that were young people were underperforming, and they bounced back and forth. So now I think it was still only applied. Well, of course, now the list I think was very long. Am I reading that right, Mr. O'Bean and Ms. Carla? That whole list showed more than just our schools that was unperforming. Did I read that right?
You're absolutely right. They did
Yeah.
single out a number of schools across
Now,
Missouri.
which means that they were expanding the statute to not only include Kansas City and St. Louis, but all districts in the state who are underperforming. I think there's going to be a lot of pushback, especially from the outstate folks. And the outstate folks have more votes than St. Louis and Kansas City. So this person, I think, is the senator that submitted. I think it was a senator. Isn't he from Kansas City? From the Kansas City area with the Kansas City delegation?
I believe so, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, that's my feeling. I think at least we ought to go on record with a resolution opposing this. That's my feeling.
And so I would ask Carla if it's appropriate for us to motion for us to move to have you draft a resolution that would be in opposition of Senate Bill 55, and it's something that we could possibly see by the following week in our working session.
Certainly, I can assist with doing that. MSBA is opposing this, and so I expect that strongly opposing it. So I expect that there's going to be some discussion tomorrow on it and some proposed suggestions. So I can certainly come up with prepare a resolution for the board to take up, and I'll be able to also provide you an update as to kind of where this is headed next, because I can't tell from the state's website where it's headed next. I'm not as versed in that process, so I'll be able to provide that update as well.
Okay. Mr. O'Bain, do you have anything to add when it comes to this?
I do. Thank you for the opportunity. There's a couple of recommendations. First of all, I know that there is a consortium out there that is strategically looking at this as a cash grab opportunity. You know the history of many charter schools fly up for a couple of years, you get the money, and then they send the kids back. By that time, the structure of the educational programming in those areas are defunct at that point. But I would support Director Brooks's recommendation around having our council draft up a resolution. I do think that the board should make a strong statement by releasing that resolution in a press release to the world around this. I also would recommend that the president maybe charge a board member to contact our Senate representatives and legislators who will be voting on these proposed bills, and get their sort of opinion in terms of where they are, and also inquire in terms of any action that at the school level we can do. I know we'll have organization from MSBA and also the Superintendent's Association will coalesce around this as well too. And I am also aware that in conversation with our president of our union, April Hill, that NEA is also developing a strategy and we'll be putting something out. So I think if we were to do something during that course, then hopefully people would see that it's consistent across the board at all levels.
Okay. So, and what I'm hearing is the aspect of drafting a resolution, creating a press release, and tasking a board member to be able to contact our state representatives to ensure that those who are able to vote on this kind of get a firm statement from them as well. And yes, sir, go ahead.
If I might, Mr. President, it would seem to me that this resolution would be directed to those legislators, both on the Senate and the House side, including the person who introduced the bill that's in the Kansas City area. It seems to me that it ought to be directed to them that they oppose this, that we go on record. And I don't know, Ms. Carla, whether or not a board action tonight authorizing you to draw up such a resolution would be better, or that you draw it up and then we vote on it. I think it'd be good for us to authorize you to draw up a resolution to that effect.
That's certainly appropriate. I think we can go either way.
Any other board members have any other thoughts about this? I mean, do others feel the same way?
I'm with if I'm understanding you right, Mr. Brooks, you're looking for authorization to write something up and then come back for the board's approval.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Is it
I was saying, I think
okay?
if we authorize the council tonight to draw up some resolution and present it to us at our work session next week, next Thursday.
Okay, because the one thing I'm thinking about, she said that they were combining some bills, and I didn't want to write up a whole bunch that says Senate Bill 25, and all of a sudden now Senate Bill 25 was swallowed by Senate Bill 50, and they're all 50, and then she has to rewrite everything.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think did she say tomorrow? Ms. Carter, did you say tomorrow there's such a session? And I guess Ms. Graves will be a part of that.
Yeah, MSBA is hosting a legislative session tomorrow, and
Yes,
I'll
yeah,
have that. I mean, I won't draft it incorrectly. I'll know.
Yes, and then I think Miss that what we're asking Mr. Townsend, that authorizing her maybe the motion ought to say authorizing her to draw up such a resolution based on the information that she and our representative determines.
Yeah. Does any other board member have any other comments on this? I would agree with Mr. Brooks.
I guess we should put it. Should we put it to a motion?
Yes, sir.
I think a motion just instructing me to draft a statement opposing Senate Bill 25 would be appropriate.
All right. The chair is seeking a motion.
Okay. What Carter just said.
I'll say what Carter just said.
All right. It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion?
Then, Mr. President, if I might, just for information purposes, if Ms. Carla will get with our secretary and let her know what the motion is, because it was kind of.
Yeah. We've got it on tape.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
All right. So this is being recorded. So is there any further discussion? All right. Well, we will call it to a vote then. Vice President Kendrick.
Aye.
Director Carter.
Aye.
Director Brooks.
Aye.
Director Townsend.
Aye.
Director Graves. I think she might have popped off for a second. All right. Oh, thank you. And chair votes aye, motion carries 6-0. All right, we are now moving on to Superintendent Comments 11.0, which starts at 11.1, which is the accreditation process. Take it
Tyler,
away,
you gonna let me share? I'm not going in that order. Okay, thank you. All right, let me, all right, I get my 20 minutes. All right, this is great. Let me thank, I think our contractors are gone, but I did want to thank them for the response to the questions from the board. They came back with something that was more than satisfactory in terms of moving forward, and also congratulate the board on that process in terms of probing with the right questions to get a good result. So congratulations on that. Also, just a reminder, Ms. Carter did bring it up, but we do have an outstanding, I think we gave 3 months waiting period around the sale of those houses, and then to reconvene. I did get communication from one of the individuals that was interested in partnering with the board and doing a plan, but I haven't heard anything since in the last couple of weeks. But the board should, I guess, put that on the agenda at some point to have a conversation to determine if we just keep it on the market or take a more aggressive action on that. So just wanted to give that as a reminder to the board. Let me also say Happy New Year to everyone, and Happy New Year to our staff and community members. We're out there, we're back in our return to learn. We will be giving an update next week for those staff members that I know waiting to see what's the next step, and for community members as well too. But early next week we'll have an update around that piece. So I wanted to start off with a bit of good news for those of you who did not know that we're in the presence of an author and a civil rights activist. Director Alvin Brooks has just launched his book, his memoirs, and is out there. So congratulations, Director Brooks, on this great achievement. And we look forward to reading the books. And I'm hoping that you can talk to your agent and we can hold an event here at in Hickman Mills for our students and community to get a chance to receive your work and maybe probe you with some questions around your journey.
Thank you.
Get a signature.
Okay, thank you. I would love that. And plus, I just completed yesterday a 16-hour audio book where you can download it and hear it in your car or on your computer, whatever. So that'll be available also. But I'd love to do that. That'd be interesting, and even have some of our students at the appropriate time kind of read at least an excerpt from it and ask some questions. I would enjoy that. Thank you, sir. And I urge my board members, buy as many copies as you can.
All right, he's doing his own promotions here.
Thank you.
But I think it's a great opportunity to give an example of continuous learning. Someone who's tirelessly continued to grow and to stretch, and hopefully our students can see that as a model from one of our leaders. So thank you for your commitment. We look forward to having you on site to host an event. That would be great.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Let me go to the next item. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Go back. I think I have another one. Okay. So a bit of serious pieces. I wanted to give an update on accreditation. I know we're in COVID, and we're in virtual learning and things are happening, but we are still pursuing actions in terms of getting full accreditation. And I've had several meetings and conversations with the staff at DESE, right from the top person right on down, in terms of what we need to do in terms of actions we go forward. Recently, in the last 2 weeks, DESE has just come out with a little framework in terms of what the new framework is for achieving accreditation. So that's changed from previous years. And I had a conversation post that in terms of identifying any deficits or areas for us that we need to work on in order for us to be present them a package that we think we're ready to receive accreditation. It was well received. They're willing to work with us, but I wanted to share 3 nuggets that I got from several meetings I had in terms of areas that they are going to be looking at part of their framework, because it involves the board as well too. But I'll start with the student achievement. Of course, the student achievement piece is critical, and they're looking at different forms of collecting the data. And fortunately, we do have some platforms we just started using in the end of last year and this year that we'll be able to contribute to that, and looking at some strategies within our school level. So the student achievement piece, we've got a great curriculum department to continue to work. So we'll be handling that piece. Finance structure, they're looking at board organization in terms of how we manage our finances and things like that. And I got a lot of history from talking with that I wasn't aware of. And I know that I think we had some financial issues a couple of years ago or something like that. So those kinds of things are still in the back of our minds of the people who grant us accreditations. So that certainly has been an impact in the past in terms of how they view our district moving forward. But as I mentioned earlier on tonight, we will be coming forward with a financial management system for the board, and be able to look at how we can structure financial governance a little bit better, that we can share with DESE when they come to check us out. The other piece I wanted to emphasize is that they really had a deep conversation about board governance. They were concerned about the governance of our district, and if we had the right structures and the interplay between board members. They reference that I do believe that the commissioner of education came to speak to the board at one point. I don't know who was on the board at that time, if you recall that, but that is a significant thing. I mean, there's over 515 districts across the Missouri, and for the commissioner to come, that means that there's a serious concern. They don't go to just board meetings. So that was still in the backdrop. I shared with them that we're doing some work on developing our governance structures, and we're working with MSBA to ensure that we become a high functioning board. And when they're ready to do their evaluation, we'll be able to present evidence of training that we've done, the change in governance structure and continuous development that I'm hoping they will receive well. So I will be, in order for us to reach our accreditation, I'll be tapping back to the board for your support in terms of some things that I know that we have to do, well, you have to do as a board in order to demonstrate that we're at that level. So I wanted to kind of share those three nuggets. Those are the big sort of pillars that we'll be focusing on. So look forward to the next couple of months. I will bring some presentations to share with the board in terms of some of these areas, in terms of things I think the board needs to do and needs to support us in doing, so we can have a good presentation when the time is right to do the accreditation. I believe, based on what I've seen so far with our staff and our district, that the capability is there. It's not a question of if we'll be full accreditation, it's a question of when, right? So the sooner we can get organized and get the things in place, then we can give a good presentation to be validated. Okay, so that's an update. Any quick questions? I wasn't really planning on doing questions on this, but I don't know if there's anything that people wanted to ask while I'm on this screen.
Yeah. So in regards to board governance and the aspect that they're watching how our board operates, some of the points that I'm just kind of reviewing. What are some of the points, like bullet points? I'm writing them down. What are some of the bullet points in which they said in regards to board governance that they want to see addressed by a district like us?
Yeah, I'll speak in general because I don't want to disclose.
Yeah.
But first of all, just the structure, sort of the policy structure, the implementation of setting targets and goals for the district level, how the board manages decisions that it directly impacts on district, and how they share that information with the community as well too. But I mean, some of the stuff we went through initial training around some of the pieces that we need to do. Like we got into a good conversation today around our structure, around committees, no committees, and things like that. So those are kind of things that we need to be affirmed in. And so I can go forward and say, yeah, we have a plan. We've done this, and this is what we're doing. But I mean, it'll be a progress in working. So we will have further conversations, and I'm sure we'll also elicit MSBA to continue to support us, so we can make sure that we have everything they're looking for in order to reach our full accreditation.
Okay, yeah. Say my biggest concern is, whatever we can do as board members to ensure their accreditation, and if we're a factor in that, making sure. That
I think that there your significant piece, because my assessment based on the new structure they've got, they're looking for sound boards and districts, right? So the achievement piece is there, but they're looking to be able to say, oh, there's an organization that understands their governance structure, they understand their financial structure, and then so therefore they have the capability of implementing strategy support for student achievement. So it's an organizational look, as opposed to just looking at what's happening just with our teachers, with the classroom. So it's a little bit. So we'll continue to gather more information and continue to work on that. And I'm confident with the board support, we'll be able to present something at the appropriate time to reach where we need to be.
Okay, all right. Thank you for bringing this to us.
Okay. And the last thing, let me go. Some bittersweet news. So board knows that our board secretary, who's also my executive assistant, Donna Payton, is retiring. And I think this will be her last board meeting. She sent her retirement. I tried to send it back several times, but she insists on going. So, I know that-
Mr. O'Bean and Mr. President, I think a motion would be in order that the board authorize the superintendent rescind that notice of a retirement. And I think that, I'm sure Mrs. Payton, who's been so loyal and all to the board and all, would take our advice and not say anything about Miss April. But we've always been talking about two persons anyway occupying those positions. So I'm ready to vote anytime it makes a motion that hold up on that and not accept her resignation.
Not accept. Oh yeah, I support that for sure.
I'm in full support of it. The one thing I would like to ask, I noticed that there's a considerable amount of people on this call. If everyone can please unmute your devices or your phone and just give her a round of applause.
I love you. I'm gonna miss you.
All right.
We'll miss you.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Wait,
Donna.
don't say your words yet, because I know there's some board members that want to say something before we'll give you the last word. So I know that because we're in COVID, we're not allowed to have a physical big party, but so we want to find different ways to show our appreciation. So I wanted to give the board opportunity, if you had, 10 seconds or something you want to say to Ms. Payton for congratulating her on her graduation, then I think it would be well received. Anyone?
Could we go alphabetically? Ms. Payton, you know I love you, and you've done a great job and a great friend, become a great friend, and done so much for the previous superintendents, as well as the present, and I'm sure they all appreciate it. And you've always been a person of a lot of integrity and honesty, and quite a gentle person. And so I wish you well. I hate to see you go, but wish you well, and that your retirement or other fields of endeavor, whatever they might be, are successful, and God be with you.
Excellent. All right, Ms. Kendrick.
Ms. Payton, I wanted to thank you for opening up your heart to me when I first signed up to run for the school board. You took me by the hand and guided me the right direction. I really appreciate that. And you've been very sweet to me, and I look forward to seeing you out of the public life and getting to know you on a personal level.
All right.
Thank you for your job. Good job.
Thank you. Ms. Gray?
Miss Donna, it's been 6 years, 6 good years. And I just don't have the words to just tell you how I feel. You were excellent board secretary. You kept things confidential. You were somebody that I could talk to, and you would be a good listener. And I'm really gonna miss you. I wish you the best. And I know that God has a plan and purpose for your life. So enjoy. Thank you.
Oh, very nice. Mr. Townsend?
All right, Mr. Donna. I remember when you first came and you kept getting everybody all mixed up between Miss Donna, who left, and Miss LaDonna, who came in. And people were getting mixed up on LaDonna, Donna. So it's great to see the work that you've done. You've been a kind, consistent, tempered person that's done a great job, truly professional. And it was nice working with you. It was great seeing you coming in, and it's great to see you happy going out.
All right. And Mr. Watry?
I have Miss Carter go first.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Okay.
Carter. Sorry, Miss Carter.
Well, I want to thank Miss Payton for helping me, because when I first got on and I was clearly clueless on what I was doing. I was just getting in thinking I was coming in just basically expressing my opinions, but that totally didn't work out right. It was something totally different and more than what I thought I was getting myself into. And I thought I was coming in for 1 year. And I remember having that conversation with Miss Payton. That 1 year turned into 3. But she had motivated me and put me in the right direction, because I clearly had a big heart, but didn't know the work that came along with it. So I'm really thankful that you helped me, Miss Payton. Thank you so much.
All right. Ms. Fields?
Peyton, you have been an absolute joy to work with. You have been so helpful just with my whole onboarding process with the district, and you will absolutely be missed.
Excellent. And okay, so final word, Mr. Watry.
So when I started this ordeal, because me and you had conversations as me as an employee, and then you had conversations with me as a board director. And a lot of people won't know this, but as far as the person who kind of kept me in check and made sure I didn't go off the handle or get really rambunctious with whatever I say, it was Miss Payton. And I like to thank her for her verbal communication skills, where she had the availability to say what she needed to say and give you a look that lets you know how she was saying it. I look forward to what you do next.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Payton. So, I want to thank you for my transition, because it was COVID. So it was just you and I. And thank you for all your guidance and steer me in the right direction so many times, and not being afraid to step out and tell me what you really what I need to hear about the district and the community. It's been a benefit to our district to have somebody who has such insight, and those who haven't had the pleasure to work with you or know you, she has the biggest heart, and I don't think I've never heard a negative thing about this individual. And I know your heart will always be with Hickman Mills, regardless where you go. And we hope you'll come back. And I know April appreciates the transition you've given her as well too. That shows the character of who you are as well too. So thank you, Ms. Payton, and hope to see you around.
Thank you, everyone. As you can tell from what everyone has said, I don't have a problem speaking my mind. But right now, I am just so overwhelmed. I just am so blessed to have had the opportunity to work with each one of you and to be blessed doing a job that I truly love doing. And that would not be the case without you guys, without executive leadership team, without all the staff that support me in whatever I do. And I wish I wasn't about to cry like a baby on the camera for prosperity. But I do want to say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for making this not easy, trust that, but for making it an enjoyable experience. I really do like each and every one of you. I really do. And thank you.
Great. Okay. Excellent. That's it for me, President Watry. Over to you.
Okay. Future items, moving on to 12.0, future items and future meeting dates. Board of Education regular working session meeting January 28th will be at 6 p.m. I do know that we will probably have some conflicting schedules, but we will work around that within the next week. 12.2 is our regular session meeting comes in on February 18th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And our regular session working session meeting will be at February 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. If there's nothing further, moving on to item 13.1, which will be the chair seeking a motion to go into closed session 610.021, 1, 3, and 13 RSMO.
Are we recessing into closed session?
Yes, we are recessing into closed session. Excuse me.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no further discussion.
April, this is a separate link for closed session, correct, for everyone?
They should have that one as well. Yes, there is. I will send it again though, right now.
Okay. All right, we'll call it to a vote. Director Carter?
Aye.
Director Brooks?
Aye.
Director Graves?
Aye.
Director Townsend?
Vitaly, we can see your email.
Oh, we can see all of it. And Vice President Kendrick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 6-0. Thank you for those who are hopping off the line for attending tonight. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to use the restroom.
I understand.
Unacceptable.
I'll do my best to hold it next time for you. I apologize.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that.
Isn't it?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Waiting on a couple more. See if we can get everybody in.
You need one more.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Somebody will do it.
I guess there's no way, Vitaly, to keep this open when we go. Like you can't have two Zooms open at once. I guess, right?
You guys are going into a breakout room. I was able to stay in this Zoom the entire time.
Yeah, this Zoom meeting stays open the entire time you guys are gone.
Right.
He just
Oh,
went
really?
to the bathroom.
But when you guys come in, you get put in a waiting room, so I have to admit you.
Oh, you have to let us in, right?
Yeah, that's the reason why you were on the wait.
Right. I thought there was a way just to jump back. Okay.
I'm just waiting on
So you
one more person.
You might want to text Townsend.
Yeah.
I got Alvin coming in now.
Perfect. All right. We officially have a quorum. So with that being said, yes, sir, you made it.
Yeah, I made it. It was difficult though.
That it was. But we had to use we had someone who had to use the facility, so we're good to go now though.
Okay.
I'm gonna quit blasting. We have a quorum. The time is now 9:20, and I call this meeting to adjourn.